This book took me 7 years to read, and it is absolutely incredible. The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen is a Pulitzer Prize winning book, the 2016 prize for fiction, I believe. I got this book around 2016, 2017 when I was working in a bookshop, and on and off for the past 7 years, I have started this book and restarted this book, and I finally said I'm going to get through this entire book, and by God, is it incredible. This book is fantastic in every way. It is the first fiction book, I think, in a while where I have actually dog-eared and marked sections, and then I've gone through and I've underlined sections that I thought were incredible, and there were some incredible quotes which I will read to you throughout this video because by God, they are amazing. I think the best way for me to describe this book to you is through the blurb itself, because it doesn't give away too many spoilers. Winner of the 2016 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, The Sympathizer is a blistering exploration of identity, politics, and America, wrought in electric prose. The narrator, a Vietnamese army captain, is a man of divided loyalties, a half-French, half-Vietnamese communist sleeper agent in America after the end of the Vietnam War. A powerful story of love and friendship, and a gripping espionage novel. The Sympathizer examines the legacy of the Vietnam War in literature, film, and the wars we fight today. I don't think I could have put that any more perfectly. Everything about this book is great. The first 2 chapters, which were the hardest chapters for me to get through initially, I think, obviously it's hard to, really say this book is incredible just off the first 2 chapters in a 23 chapter book, which is about 500 pages long, it's the first time I've read a really long book like this since the Wind Up Bird Chronicles. And yes, those first 2 chapters are a little bit slower, but once I got to the end of the book, I was like, those first 2 chapters are so important, because those first 2 chapters tell you everything about this book. They tell you where they are, what's happening, what's going on. By the end of the book, and you see those first 2 chapters, you're like, oh, it all makes sense. It's like Attack on Titan. Apparently, I've not read it, please no spoilers. Please, don't put any spoilers down below. It is so good, I can't tell you more. The main character is a complex, confused man, but he's not confused because he knows what he wants, he knows what he stands by, but there are so many things going on around him. There's so many different people and things happening to him and with him, and his love for his friends influenced this, his love for a woman, his love for his country, but is also hidden, and he's stuck because he's the sleeper agent and he can't truly be who he is. He's lost himself in his disguise. He's losing himself as this, he's called a mole in this. It's so good. It is about a man not knowing who he is, and by the end that applies fantastically, which I wish I could read the quotes from that at the end here, because I've got quite a few dog-eared, but that would just ruin some of the thing that was like, wait, what? That I can't ruin that for you. It is so good, and oh my God, it's a wave of sadness from the start. It's a wave of pain, and oh my God, what? But it's like you power through it, and throughout these things that are said and done, and just what? And like the novel says, a lot of the stuff that is being talked about, obviously it's set post-Vietnam War. It's written in the 2010s, obviously. So yeah, the author's going to be like, yeah, talking about stuff that you can relate to still now in 2023. But it's very clear these things were being said and were done post-Vietnam in, mid-20th century America, and it's just, God, Nguyen is just incredible. I can't believe it took me so long to read this, and not only is it sad at points, not only is it you know, an exploration of the soul at points, but it's also like lovely. It's also beautiful. It's also funny at points. Like, I was smiling on the train this morning when I was trying to finish this, and I was like, wait, why am I smiling at this book? Just a minute ago it made me like viscerally angry. It's such a well worked piece of art. It is just mind-bogglingly good. You know, and I'm using a lot of hyperbole, of course. I think I gave it a 4 on Goodreads, but maybe it's a 5. It's very hard for me to give a 5 unless I'm like, you know, feeling like, I just give it a 5 because I want to. But truthfully, if I were to give a book a 5 on Goodreads, and I'm probably going to revise my rating, this would be a 5. I think this is incredible. Like, I do think there are points where maybe I would dock it down to a 4.5, because a 5 is just impossible, in my opinion, for the most part. But, God, it's so good. And it is a difficult read. I do, you know, say this, that reading this, you kind of have to be feeling sturdy. Reading this, you have to be, you know, willing to just read horrible, horrific things done by not just those around our main character, but also by our narrator. So you do have to, you know, recognize that, you know, so there's a war. But, oh, God, it's so good. And I think one of the worries I had was, is it going to be too pro-American for me? Because a book about Vietnam, you know, you're worried it's going to be pro-American, but it's not. There is some critique at the end which I feel is a little bit heavy-handed, which might have been the reason why it kind of, you know, got well rated by like it got the Carnegie Medal for Excellence in Fiction. Some of the messaging I think might be a little bit too on the nose almost, but still it's so good, because even though it critiques parts of Vietnam or just, you know, communism and stuff in general, it doesn't shy away from its critiques of the US throughout. And I think I'm going to read all my quotes at the end here of just some of the best ones. So here's going to be a compilation of the quotes, and I'll have them on the screen. I was in close quarters with some representative specimens of the most dangerous creature in the history of the world, the white man in a suit. I warned a man in my coded notes, revolutions begin this way, with men willing to fight no matter what the odds, volunteering to give up everything because they had nothing. Violet paused with her hand on the knob, looked over her shoulder at me. Was there ever a more romantic pose, even with a woman such as her? And said, "You know, we couldn't have done this movie without you." To believe her was to believe in a femme fatale, in an elected official, in little green men from outer space, in the benevolence of the police, in holy men like my father, who not only had holes in his socks, but also had a hole somewhere in his soul. Screams are not universal, I said. If I took this telephone cord and wrapped it around your neck and pulled it tight until your eyes bugged out and your tongue turned black, Violet's screams would sound very different from the screams you would be trying to make. Those are two very different kinds of terror coming from a man and a woman. The man knowing he is dying, the woman fears she is likely to die soon. The general furrowed his brow just a bit to show his concern and understanding. As a non-white person, the general, like myself, knew he must be patient with white people, who were easily scared by the non-white. "I am not an American, sir," I said. "If my confession reveals anything, isn't it that I am an anti-American?" I must have said something outrageously humorous, for he actually laughed. "The anti-American already includes the American," he said. "Don't you see that the Americans need the anti-American?" And those were only a couple of the quotes I had. And even from the quotes I had, I'm sure I missed some incredible pieces of literature. I adore this book. And even though it took me 7 years to read, to finally get around to reading it, essentially, and then it took me 3 days to actually get through all 500 pages, by Lord, it was magnificent. Please read The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen. It is so good. I need you to read this. Thank you for watching. If you have read The Sympathizer, if you have read any other works by Nguyen, if they have written other works, if you are now interested in reading this, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, share the video with a friend or family member. The link to the book will be down below. And as always, I hope you read a great book today.